Next thing that happens in this chess game that's being played is that biological weapons are released on China. He heard this being discussed in this meeting. They will release a flu-like virus that will be genetically targeted against the Chinese population. It's racially targeted against the Chinese people. It's designed to spread like wildfire and to knock out a large number of the Chinese people. And these people in this meeting were laughing about this. They said, China will catch a cold. Those were their words. China will catch a cold. And they were laughing about the fact that these biological weapons will wreak havoc among the Chinese population. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well. Our source was not clear whether this was a Chinese retaliation or whether the thing would just spread out of control in the way that it would be very understandable if it did, whether it's racially targeted or not. These things actually mutate.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my new video. My name is AJ. Apologies for the voice. I am currently losing my voice, so got a bit of a cough, but I had to make this video because it is absolutely shocking. You need to watch this to the end because I don't normally get shocked easily, but I'm definitely shocked. So you can see from the first clip here on this video that the COVID, I can't say the name because it's going to get demonetized. The COVID virus basically was planned 10 years ago. And you can see that video I showed you in the beginning, and you can see from the timestamp, this was 12 years ago that video was made. And everything he has said has come true. So you might say, oh, this is a conspiracy theory, AJ. Don't spread conspiracy theories here and there. Look, I agree with you, okay? Look, we don't know for sure what's happening or what's happened. We probably will never know for sure. And as you can see from Jeffrey Sachs, he has recently said that there is a really big possibility that this COVID was released in a biolab. So let's hear what he has to say.
But I chaired a commission for The Lancet for 2 years on COVID. I'm pretty convinced it came out of US lab biotechnology, not out of nature. Just to mention, after 2 years of intensive work on this. So it's a blunder, in my view, of biotech, not an accident of a natural spillover. We don't know for sure, I should be absolutely clear. But there's enough evidence that it should be looked into, and it's not being investigated. Not in the United States, not anywhere. And I think for real reasons, that they don't want to look underneath the rug too much.
My personal opinion is these were being made in Ukraine. As you know, there's a lot of illegal biolabs in Ukraine, and Russia has gone in and they're going to be investigating, and I'm sure some stories will come out very soon regarding this. But Ukraine seems to be very much a flashpoint for testing biochemicals and bioweapons, biolabs. So it wouldn't surprise me if something was made in Ukraine and sent to China. So normally when I see something like this, you know, I'm like you guys, I'm very open-minded, and you know, I'm not very much of a conspiracy theory guy. You can see from all of my videos, I don't do conspiracy theories. I base my videos on facts. I do a lot of research. So anyone that comes to me with conspiracy theories, I just laugh it off, to be honest, because at the end of the day, these are just conspiracy theories and what have you not. But I just want you to hear me out for this particular instance. I just want you to hear me out just for once. So this guy came out 12 years ago, and he has said exactly what has happened with regards to COVID virus. He has said they got released in China. They used some sort of DNA tracking to attack Chinese people. And unfortunately, the virus kind of, as you know, with most viruses, they mutate and it spread to the rest of the world. And obviously, they blamed China for it. They blamed lab leak theory on China. And the Western media obviously went with that narrative. And obviously, you see all of the Western media went with that narrative. Every single Western media. It's the same Western media narrative that says Russia is basically losing, Ukraine is winning, Ghost of Kiev, all of that kind of narrative. So I never believed it, to be honest. I never believed it, because China is not a third world country anymore. It's not a poor country. They cannot release viruses out of a lab by mistake or by accident. It just doesn't happen in a rich country like China. And you can see China basically got the blame for it. And the WHO went to China. They did their own investigation. They came back saying it wasn't China. It wasn't made in one of these Chinese labs. The US didn't like the answer. So again, they tried to politicize it. And they're doing the same thing with the UN inspector as well, who visited Xinjiang. Look, in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you believe or what you don't believe, what you hear in the papers or what you don't hear in the papers, what you think may have happened. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, how the hell did that guy with the clip I showed you in the beginning of the video know about releasing a virus in China? And how does he know that it would mutate and it would spread to the rest of the world? How does he know that there will be huge draconian measures put in place, huge lockdowns, huge new laws? And this is what's happening to the Western world. You see what's happened in UK, how they're cracking down on protesters, how they're really cracking down on lockdowns, happening in America, happening in Canada. These are draconian measures they are taking. And how did this guy know that? And this was only 12 years ago. So this is why this is very, very scary to me, and it doesn't make any sense. I normally don't like conspiracy theories. I'm the first one to laugh at conspiracy theories. So many people telling me conspiracy theories about 9/11 and all this crap. Sometimes I laugh at it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I say to them, where's the proof? End of the day, sometimes there is no proof. Sometimes you may never know. You may never know how the COVID virus got released. We may never know. And sometimes these conspiracy theories is maybe all we got. So I don't understand how this guy predicted this 12 years ago. Can anyone explain to me why? And he's explained, and he's explained in so much detail. He's explained in so much detail that everything he has said has come true. And you can see by the timestamp, exactly 12 years ago. So can someone please explain to me that? I really think he's got a point there. I really think he's got a point. I think there are people in this world who are pushing for an agenda. And you can see from what he said, number one agenda, China is becoming too strong, too fast, and they need to put a stop to that. And one way to put a stop to the Chinese population is to release a virus. And this is not the first time this has happened, by the way. You know, COVID was the second virus released in China. The first virus is the SARS virus. I don't know if you heard of it. But the SARS virus killed about 350 people in China, infected about 5,000 to 6,000. But I believe that was just a test. You know, they were basically testing the virus, and they released it in China. China came down hard on it. It wasn't really a pandemic. It didn't really get released to the rest of the world. It mainly affected Chinese people. Chinese people are the ones who died the most from it. And the Chinese government came down hard on it. But the real virus got released, obviously, years later. And this was the real one. This was the actual pandemic. And I believe that anything like that would have been released in Chinese soil to stop Chinese growth, to stop Chinese economic progress. And they did it, and they blamed the Chinese for it. It's easy to blame them. You know, if you release it in China, obviously you can just blame the Chinese, saying, oh, it was them, they released it from the lab. And you know how Western papers work. You know, once they release a narrative, every single paper in the West releases the same story, including the Indian papers, by the way. I'm not just talking about the Western papers here. Everywhere, every major news article around the world will post the same story. And this is what's happening with Ukraine as well. So you can't really trust the media when they come up with stories like that. But when somebody makes a prediction 10, 12 years ago, which has come true, you got to take notice. And everything he says, you got to actually sit back and you got to take notice. And you got to ask yourself why. Why does he have this information 10 years ago? And another scary thing that he mentioned is this is just a small thing compared to what's majorly going to happen, which is World War III. And he mentioned how the West is going to be provoking China into a nuclear exchange. And this is exactly what's happening now with Taiwan. And you can see how they are provoking China. And I can see a nuclear exchange happening with China because they won't be able to beat China in a conventional war over Taiwan. They just can't. It's impossible. So I know what's going to happen. America's going to send a couple of aircraft carriers to help Taiwan. China's going to sink them with hypersonic missiles. And these are nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, by the way. So they will sink. A lot of American people will die. And America will basically retaliate with nuclear weapons. And the people will basically be asking for it because, once you sink a couple of aircraft carriers, loads of people die and stuff. You'll see a lot of people asking for blood. Same thing as happened in 9/11, for example. You know, when 9/11 happened, America basically was asking for blood. They didn't care which country they bombed, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan. Even though those two countries had nothing to do with 9/11, they blamed Iraq for 9/11. They blamed Afghanistan for 9/11. And I lived in America at the time. I was in Atlanta at the time when 9/11 happened. And I can see the anger in people's eyes. I can see the red. They wanted revenge. They didn't care which country they bombed. They wanted revenge. They wanted to kill every single Arab or Muslim in the world. So this is what's going to happen, guys. And looks like it has already been predicted. And looks like we are already heading along this direction. I just want you guys to have an open mind and think about it. Think about why this guy, is saying what he's saying, and think about why this guy is so accurate in his predictions. And just think about it, guys. just have an open mind. Before I go, I'm going to put a longer version of the video. And if you guys want to join my Patreon, I can send you the full links to that video. It's a 6-part series, and he basically talks about exactly why this is happening. And the main reason it's happening is, obviously they want to stop China. And the second reason is the population control. They want to stop population control as well. And this World War III nuclear exchange is obviously going to happen between China, but they have also mentioned a worldwide nuclear exchange as well, so which could involve Russia, Ukraine, Europe, for example, NATO. So it looks like we are heading along this kind of direction. So like I said, if you want to join my Patreon, I'm happy to show you the full link to that video. I'll show you a bit more of the clip now, and just have a think about it, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Let's push this video out to as many people as possible. I'm the only one reporting on this, by the way. I haven't seen any other channels reporting this. I'll probably get demonetized, but I don't care. End of the day, I just want you guys to hear this. I just want you guys to push this out to as many people as possible.
We're talking about China and how powerful China was getting, both militarily and financially, very quickly, and that the Japanese weren't doing what they were supposed to do, which was to interfere in some way with the Chinese financial system. They weren't doing that, and this was another problem because China was getting too strong too quickly. Other things that were discussed were, for example, the coming financial crash, the centralization of resources, everything that we saw starting to happen in October 2008. They were planning that and referring to it in their meeting in June 2005. So there was clearly a rollout of some plan here, and he was quite shocked the more that he heard, and when he really realized what was happening, he was extremely shocked. And one of the reasons why I'm giving this video presentation now is to soften the blow and interpret this a little tiny bit, because it is shocking information for this. And many people watching this will be aware that this is being set up in the background. We've had a lot of information about this from a number of good researchers from many countries who are reporting this on the internet, that things are being set up in many of the Western countries for there to be heavy controls over populations, martial law, increased powers on security forces. There are heavy controls over travel, over communication, over people who meet, over people who protest in the streets. They want to make sure that they don't have crazy bombers on aeroplanes, crazy bombers in the shopping malls. They want to make sure, and because people will be driven into fear by this, they'll request and demand and insist on heavy controls from their governments, which will be justified. And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all the Western countries. It's intended as a justification. All of this is just the start of something, because this story gets much bigger, and it's pretty horrifying. And if watching this now you're feeling a little bit shocked, this is how I was feeling when I heard this information, and this is how our source was feeling when he was hearing this information in this meeting, because this is just the beginning. Now, during the time of this ceasefire, everyone's shocked, everyone's frightened, everyone's really terrified about where this is going to go. There are all kinds of heavy controls over populations everywhere. And then the next thing that happens in this chess game that's being played is that biological weapons are released on China. You heard this being discussed in this meeting. They will release a flu-like virus that will be genetically targeted against the Chinese population. It's racially targeted against the Chinese people. It's designed to spread like wildfire and to knock out a large number of the Chinese people. And these people in this meeting were laughing about this. They said, China will catch a cold. Those were their words. China will catch a cold. and they were laughing about the fact that these biological weapons will wreak havoc among the Chinese population. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well. So it was not clear whether this was a Chinese retaliation or whether the thing would just spread out of control in the way that it would be very understandable if it did, whether it's racially targeted or not. These things actually mutate. There's a pandemic that really is sweeping across the world and really is killing people very visibly. And you've got this totalitarian military lockdown in all the governments in the Western world because everyone's going to be in panic about all of this. And then, he said, then the real war starts. Something that would be justifiably called the Third World War, with a much more major nuclear exchange. And at this point, I asked him, is this just about population reduction? What is this about? Why are they doing this? Why this insane Dr. Strangelove plan for just unleashing all of this stuff on the world? Why do it? Now, as our conversation went on, I started to find answers to those questions. Now, some of this is speculation. I want to share this speculation with you because it's important enough that we work together here to figure out what's going on. And there are some clues, there's some very important clues that I'm going to present to you here in this video. He said absolutely it's about population reduction.
So you see, guys, it's all about population control. And you have a few powerful people who are living on Earth at the moment. You can call them neocons, neoliberals, you know, Masons, Illuminati, whatever you may want to call them. They have decided that the population on Earth is way too much. There are some scriptures or writings in place saying that the population of Earth shouldn't be more than 500 million. But as you know, we have already reached 7-8 billion or something, ridiculous numbers. So they want to bring that number straight down. And the only way to bring it down is by pandemics, nuclear wars, famines, food shortages. You know, there seems to be a real major great reset that may be happening over the next few years. And it's not just a great reset in the financial terms. It could be a great reset in terms of population. And I'm talking about if there is a nuclear exchange. I don't mean to scare you guys, but all I'm saying is just to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind about things. Just look around the world, see what's happening. Check out the clues, check out the signs, and make your own decision. Okay guys, I'll leave it there for now. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I'll get my voice back in a few days. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care.